I'm here with Joe Cross, and for those of you who do not know him, he is the director, star, and producer of the hit movie Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, that has been seen by over 20 million people around the world.
And still counting, Sonia.
And still counting. So we've got a lot of people going
20 million in one right now.
In one. And for all of you who have not seen this movie, it is the most amazing movie, and you must go out and rent it right now on Netflix, or see it on Netflix, whatever it is, because it's amazing. I actually saw it in the last month. I had not heard about it, which I'm ashamed to say. I actually am an Aussie and I hadn't heard about it, and we're already best friends now that we're kind of interested in the same thing. But this man has, in this movie, he does so much to encourage so many people to reach their best place. Now tell me a little bit about that and how that all started.
So, well, thanks very much for that very kind intro, Sonia. Look, I think that what's kind of incredible about this journey of mine is that it is just my journey, one person's journey. And I started back in 2007, believe it or not, when I rolled the camera for the first time. I was 320 pounds.
That was in New York City.
Yeah, well, the decision to do this was done back home in Australia, where I was, but the cameras first turned on in New York City, correct. That was in October of 07. I was 320 pounds. I was loaded up on medications up the yazoo. I had high cholesterol, high
because you had all those red sores.
Well, I had a thing called chronic urticaria angioedema, which is a very severe autoimmune disease. So my body was effectively attacking itself. I essentially had my priorities completely out of whack. I was focused on wealth, not health. And I used to be in the financial services industry.
I saw that you were a trader, right?
I was a trader on the Sydney Futures Exchange floor. And then
what did you trade?
I used to trade up bonds and stock indexes.
Okay.
So
not cotton, I suppose, in Australia?
No, not in Australia, no. Wool.
Well, you sure? Wool, yeah, you're right, okay.
I did trade wool.
And you were very, very successful and had...
I was pretty good at it. I was pretty good. And so then I founded a number of companies in the 90s when the tech stuff started happening, and I founded a brokerage firm, and all of a sudden my lifestyle when I was a young guy, fit and healthy, playing football, like rugby.
So you played rugby?
Played rugby.
You swam?
I swam, I was a lifesaver, I did all those things, right?
Yeah.
And I used to be able to see my rib cage, I had the six pack, but I was still drinking beer and I was having fun, but because I was so athletic and I was young in my 20s, nothing sort of really showed up.
Nothing stuck then.
But when I was 28, I founded my first company, and that's when the days of having, or the day went from 2 or 3 hours of free time, which I would go to the gym and run and play tennis and football training, it went to 0, and then it went to pizzas and burgers and the takeaway, because I'm doing a startup. So I'm in there till 11 o'clock at night.
Well, that's what I was wondering, how I know how active Australians are, when you just see everybody out.
Well, you think we are, but the data will show that we're pretty much...
I know, I was actually shocked to see that we've got the 3rd highest obesity rate in the world, but I was sitting there thinking, how on earth did he get so fat in Australia? But I suppose now it's a real issue.
Yeah, so I think that there's two things that went with me. There was the fact of being overweight, which is essentially like my bank account of calories. I was like a really good saver of calories.
You ate 2 pizzas.
I would put a lot of energy in, and I wasn't expending a lot of energy. And you just got to do the math on that. Over an 8 to 10 year period, that's not going to be a good result. That's one step. But the fact is, what were those calories? They were very low in nutrient density. In other words, they were the whites, the flours, the sugars, the things that didn't have any real sort of nutrients in there, like the phytonutrients, the colours that we need that are found in our
the good stuff,
fresh food. Yeah, so I wasn't doing that,
Not any veggies at all.
Well, maybe anything that was on a Big Mac, you would say there's the veggies, and maybe on like a pizza. But really, I was not a salad person. I was not a veggie person. So the bottom line, it was the fact that I wasn't putting any nutrient-dense energy into my body. So I think that what happened in hindsight was, over time, I was depleting my body with nutrition. And so eventually, if you do that, something's going to give. Like the weakest link in my body actually snapped, and that was chronic urticaria angioedema for Joe. For other people, it might be psoriasis or migraines or something other, Crohn's or whatever. But for me, it was that particular issue. That was the weakest link in my immune system. I, deep down, when I'd look in the house of mirrors, I call it, when I'd stand there in the birthday suit and look in the mirror, and you're 320 pounds and you've got more chins than a Chinese phone book and you're sitting there and you're saying, this is not what I had in the brochure of life. This was not what I was expecting to get to by the time I was 40.